Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 51 of the new Build Your Stash and Craft. Today we are going to play with our new alcohol inks that we made last week. Last week I had purchased one packet of the permanent markers from the Dollar Tree, and they just didn't seem to make our alcohol ink as dark as I wanted them. So for this week we had purchased another pack, and I have already put them into the bottles. So if you didn't see last week's video and you want to know how to make the alcohol inks, go ahead and look at last week's video and use 2 packs of markers or 2 markers per bottle instead of just one. And I think that that will make them darker. We're going to see because I have not tested them yet. I did go ahead. They have been sitting for 1 day or 2 days. I'm not exactly sure, but I did them a day or two ago. And we're going to make our own alcohol ink pads so that it's easy to use them. So for that, I said pick up some blocks, some Jenga blocks to put your felt on. And my Dollar Tree didn't have them. And I looked around and there was a few things I kind of saw, well, maybe this or maybe that. And then I got to thinking and I thought, this is just a cut up. This was just, how you get kind of like credit cards in the mail, but they're not really credit cards. This came from a furniture store. And I thought, because they're flat, they'll be easier to store. When I made my original ones way back before I even started videotaping, I cut wooden blocks, and they were as wide as the pads that you get from Tim Holtz, and I made them that size, and then the blocks were about this thick, so putting them somewhere, they took up a lot of room. And so I got to thinking after they didn't have the Jenga blocks, and I thought, why not use the credit cards, which is what, I told you last week that you could use. It was like they would store, I have 4 of them right here, and 4 of them take up maybe not even quite as much space as just one if you put them on a big block of some sort. So now there are a lot of other things that you can use, like Kristen said bottle caps, put them on like a pop bottle cap on the flat part, or chess pieces on the block on the bottom if they're flat, or kids blocks. You can, all sorts of things that all you need is something that is solid and something that is flat. So but I'm going to show you how to make them with just a plain old key card, for a hotel, or fake credit card. Whatever you do, if you make videos and you are using an old credit card, make sure that you get those numbers really scratched off there and everything. You don't want anybody to be able to see those on video. So what I did was I just took a credit card and I cut it into 3 pieces. And then I went ahead and I used my sanding block to sand off the shiny part, because you want your Velcro to be able to stick. Now, when I put the Velcro on here, just you want the loop part, the hook part, not the loop. This is the soft side. You want the side that's not soft. And I just lined it up in the corner and then put on another one right underneath it and line them up together. And what I had thought of doing, because I just cut the credit cards into 3 equal pieces, I thought about filling in the gap, and I thought, why bother? That's just a lot of work. These are still a really nice size, so I really didn't need them just that little bit bigger. So I just went ahead and I just cut them off, just cut off the extra. Because you want your felt to be able to sit nice and flat on this. And so now this is all the loop part, and so our felt will stick to that nicely. Now, I don't like the pointy corners, so I did just kind of go in and just kind of round those off a little bit, just so that they're not sharp. And the Velcro also has a little bit of a rounded edge. You don't have to do that, but I'm always like grabbing things fast and everything, and if it's got a little pointy corner, because they were kind of a sharp little pointy corner, I always poke myself. So that is how you make them. Now, when I put them on there and I was pressing, some of them slipped like that. And it may just take a little bit of time for the glue on the back of this to grab. But if we find that they come off, we are going to pick up some super glue for next week. So if they do come off when we peel off our felt, just glue them back on. You don't need a new one. Just take the one that you have and just glue it back on there with the loop side up, and that will work just fine. So, and then what you want to do, and just keep the little felty part, the soft part, because you never know what you might want to use that for. So different things really come in handy. And as a matter of fact, I had a little piece of felt left when I cut my first 4, when I cut a long strip, and I got 4 plus this little bit. And when I was picking them up to kind of clean up, I thought, that's really actually quite soft too. So you might be able to use this for alcohol ink. I haven't tried it. It might be very nylon-y, might not work very well, but that's a possibility. Plus you could use it in mixed media. Just don't get rid of them. So we'll get that out of here. And so then what we need to do is just cut some felt for our daubers. Just move this stuff aside. And so all I did was I just held one of them up to my felt, and then I just cut a strip. So I just held it up there like that, and then I just cut a strip. And I'm going to need 2 of them. So, because I got 4 out of my first one, and I made 6 of these. So there we go. And then just take them and put them on your dauber, or your dauber holder, or whatever you want to call it. And then just cut it off to basically the same size. I don't like a bunch extra sticking out because I want to know that wherever I have my ink, I've got a solid surface underneath of it. So, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything, but you don't want to leave it a ½ inch out there and then get your ink out there and you can't really use it because there's nothing to press it down with. So, and then, where's the other one? 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just did that one. I just made one. Of course. How could I have lost one already? There it is. I lost it because I set my felt on top of it, and the felt stuck. It stuck to the felt. So let's put this last one on here and trim off the extra felt. And then what you want to do, because this would be hard to use, your fingers are going to get inky and you're going to get on your paper, so you want a handle on it. So to make a handle, and this is the kind of handle I make for all my homemade stamps that we make with foam and that type of thing, is you just take a length of masking tape. There's not an exact amount or anything. This is probably about 4 or 5 inches. Then you just hold the 2 edges to keep little wings out there and put the center together. Just kind of give that a press, and then take your 2 little wings and stick them on the back of your stamp or your dauber or whatever it is that you want a handle on. That one's a little bit big even. So, and then if you have extra sticking out, cut that off, because you don't want them, when you toss them in a drawer or a basket or something, you don't want them sticking to each other. And so you just cut it off so it's nice and even. I really don't like how tall. This one is just a little too tall for me, so I'm going to just take a little bit of that off. There. To me, that's just easier because I like to grab a hold of it, but have my finger and my thumb actually touching whatever it is that, you know, I'm using, because then when I press down, I'm pressing down on those areas like that. So there we go. Now we have all 6 daubers. Now, the other thing is, well, let's just knock those all off there. Because I normally mix my colors at the time of putting the alcohol inks on, you don't even need 6. So these 6 will go a long ways, you know, because I don't normally use one color or one felt piece for each one of my colors. Sometimes you might want just one color, but normally I usually put 2 colors together because it's the way they blend that makes them so cool. And so I'm just going to take out one of these washers. Like I said, I haven't tried any of this, so we're going to see how it works. We'll see if it's darker. Let's start, actually. Put those over there. Let's see. Oh, I have another one of these bags. So let's try this. let's put some, and I believe the way that I did it last week, because it was too light, so I think that I went ahead and dripped it right on the plastic instead of on the dauber. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll just want to see if this is any darker than what we had last week. Oh, that's way too much. And I don't even want to put that on my felt. I'm going to use this piece to kind of soak a little bit of it up or move it around or something. I do have one thing to say. I can tell just by looking at it, it is definitely darker than last week. And I don't know why I didn't put it on here. I could have put it on there. I don't know. I thought that it was going to just get way too much ink on there. Okay, so I'm going to set that one aside. Now I will keep this because this has a lot of ink on it, and this will dry up. When it's dry, you can either put another drip of blue on there or even a drip of your rubbing alcohol, and it will reconstitute this color over and over and over again. I don't change my pads. I use them over and over, and that is, you don't go through as much ink that way because that ink is on there, and it goes such a long way that you would be surprised how many times you can use it with just maybe one drop of blue. But I'm going to just kind of put these up here together, and this one doesn't even have any white paper inside. Let's see, let's put a piece of white paper behind it. Look at the difference in those colors. That blue is real light. This blue is nice and dark. So two of the permanent markers make a much darker alcohol ink. So, but the thing is you might want light ink. But with light ink, you can always put some extra rubbing alcohol just on your pad, and that will lighten it up. So if you have a dark one, that works really well. So let's see how they work. I'm going to put a paper under it because maybe that will make it easier to see. I'm not sure. We're going to see how it works on some of these things. So we'll take a drop of that blue, or actually I usually use a couple drops of each color, and just drops. You don't need a whole bunch. You just want to put a few drops around. And it is really best because these are permanent ink. They don't come off things like fabric or paper, or if you get it on a book or something. So you definitely should shut them when you're oops, I forgot to pick some up. Shut them when you're not using them. Like as soon as you're done putting it on there. So there we go. And now we can just take this dauber and there we go. Look at how awesome that looks. And oh, because a lot of this stuff is non-porous, it's going to be shiny, so it may be hard to see, but that is a really nice dark color there. And we're not seeing the purples too much, I think, in the screen, but wherever it looks kind of silver, that's the purple. So it's just a little more see-through. Now let's I have some hearts here. I'm going to show you. Okay, so with my punches, I punched out 4 hearts. So this piece of plastic has 4 hearts punched out of it. And I thought, you know what? This would make a really cool bookmark. I was punching the hearts out to use the hearts. But then I thought this would make a cool bookmark. And of course, I'm not doing it like with a ruler and stuff, so it's not straight. But let's straighten that out a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, even for me. All right, so there we go. And then we'll just take the dauber that we still have here. And you do have to let them dry for a few minutes. It is a non-porous surface. Because it's a permanent ink, it does hold, but you have to let it dry. And, things on a non-porous surface don't dry as fast. So there is what we have with that, just that quickly. Now you can see here how they kind of really blend together, but if you put a little bit of rubbing alcohol with them, you'll get a lot more of this mottled look. And so I'm going to show you now, this is a way that you can get your own droppers, but there's a really big but here. This had eye drops in it. If you cannot get the label off, do not use them, because I'm going to write on here that this is alcohol ink, but what is this? It's a permanent marker, and it's the only thing really that wants to write on here nice and dark so you can see it. If this rubbing alcohol drips down your bottle, it will make this disappear. So do not ever use any kind of, don't put anything poisonous in a bottle that you cannot get the label right off and then be able to mark it. And I make sure that I put it no matter like what side you're looking at. So that nobody accidentally thinks that these are eye drops. But whenever I have one of these bottles that's empty, I do go ahead and I take the label off. Once I get the label off, then I rinse it out. Now, these tops, now this one I hadn't pushed back on real tight. So I just use a pair of little pliers, like our jewelry pliers, and just pull that right off of there. And then you can put some rubbing alcohol in there, because now you've got a dropper in a much smaller container. Okay, so dripped. And then make sure that when you put that back in there, you make it snap back in real good. Okay, so remember what I said about, see? That's already taken off part of that because I dripped all over the edge. Normally I fill them and then write on the bottle. But this is going to also happen just even as you're using it. That's possible that that can happen. So you want to make sure that you've got that label off there, because if there's no label, you know, then people are not necessarily going to know what it is. But yes, that made a very a big mess, and you know, you really couldn't see that. So now we have our alcohol in there. And normally I do put rubbing alcohol instead of just alcohol. All right, so we're going to, you can do it two ways. You can put a little bit of alcohol on here, or you can put a little bit of alcohol where you don't have any. I'll just put a little drip of alcohol right there. And then, so this is what it looks like. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put some of the rubbing alcohol on there. Okay, and now you can see how, and I did get a little more ink on here too from that pad, but you can see too where here you've got a lot of white space, but the alcohol itself helps that to kind of run together and move a little bit more. So let's just put, now this is going to actually just kind of make it disappear, but it will kind of show you how it moves. I don't know how well you can see that, but see how that's making that move. And the thing is that if you do something and then you don't like it, you can just go over it again and again until you get it the way that you want it to look. If you don't like it at all, you can just go ahead and take a paper towel with a little rubbing alcohol on it and just wipe it off. So long as it's a non-porous surface, it will wipe right off of there. So I'm just going to fill up the whole thing a little bit more so it's all kind of the same, and then show you how I would make a bookmark out of this. So you go ahead and you have but that you can't see that as well. Although now with the rubbing alcohol on it, it would look pretty cool in a book. But you can also then just put it on to a piece of paper. I'm going to put it where I don't have to cut as many edges. Let's do it right here. Or a piece of, I would use actually, this is just copy paper, but I would use cardstock. Just put it on there like that. And then use our hole punch to punch a hole in the corner. And then just take a piece of your string and just, okay, so I took probably 6 inches or so, fold it in half so that you've got your loop there. And then I'm going to just tie a knot in it, tie the 2 pieces together at the loose end. I'm going to leave those kind of long. And then just put it through the hole, put the loop through the hole, put the knotted end through, and there we go. And then what I like to do is I like to just, and I'm not going to take the time really to do this right this second, but just take these threads and fray them. So just unwind them because it just looks kind of cool. And then that's why I leave them a little bit long. And then if I decide that I want it a little bit shorter or something, I can always shorten it later. But take your time, you know, to really get each of them separated and get them separated all the way to the knot, or they want to really wind up with each other again. But there we go. So that's a really cool, really quick bookmark. And then what you can do also is just stamp some lines on there or draw lines on there so that the bookmark can be moved and be written on and then put back there. It's not something that you won't see, but it's really, I think, a really cute idea. So, and with the washers, the ones that are a little bit bigger in size, what did I do with that dauber now? Really good at misplacing things. I want the lid for this one. Oh, it's right here in front of me. I'm gonna redaub this a little bit because I did get some of that rubbing alcohol on it. And I really should let it dry first, then flip it over and do the other side. That one had a lot of rubbing alcohol on it. It even got my paper wet. So let's check out these little stones, and let's check out some of our other colors too. You know, I tend to use purple and blue a lot, and I use green and yellow a lot. Let me make sure this is shut. Yes, it is. Okay. Let's do orange and red. And this does not look like it's a lot of ink in there, but it really does go a long way. And you can then just put a little bit more alcohol in there, just a little bit when they're empty. And then see if it's too thin, then add another marker. And it's good to put your colors on there kind of mixed in order so that it looks better when you stamp them. So we're gonna just take this, and that is working on there. So you want to get all of your sides. And I don't know why I did 3 because I was going to use the other color, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, I'm thinking on this one right here, because those are more red than orange. The red kind of overpowered the orange a little bit. But I think what I'm going to try and do is just put 1 drop There we go. And just let that run around there. And then 1 drop of the red. Okay. So that one comes out much darker that way. And once you get them colored, if they're not as dark as you want them to be, let them dry. And then go in and put a little bit more on top. Now it will move what's underneath, but it will normally make it a little bit darker. So let's grab, I cut up some hearts, I don't know, here they are. We'll grab a couple of these hearts. And although yellow and green, I should have done them in red, but we'll do those in yellow and green. So see, now I'm going to keep this one, and the next time I go to do this, I'll just put a few drops of my color on there, and it will just continue to go farther. The very first time that you put your color on there, you know, your color soaks into your pad. So it still works, but the longer you use your pad, the less drops of color you'll have to put on it. And if there's a lot of color on there and you're not looking for a real dark color, you can put just a couple drops of alcohol ink on there. And it will reconstitute that color a little lighter, but you'll be able to use it just like that. So now we'll try the green and yellow. And things will be lighter with only one side being done. If it's something that's see-through, it will be darker if you do both sides. But that's what those look like. And then we can take, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put just alcohol on this one. Just like 1 drop. So, and you can see where it touched, it moved the colors. Let me see if this one, I wanted to see if maybe you can see the colors moving, but it's, you know, a small area and everything. But by doing that, that will move those colors around. It will mix them together more instead of them being separated. And I want a little more color on there. And being that I tapped it with the alcohol a minute ago, there's still alcohol on there. So that's really helping them blend better also. And so, I think those are the things that we wanted to do with them. Now, I'm going to move this one. And I'm going to take one of these, because these are see-through. You can put a picture behind them or something, or you can make them look. You can use your markers to, it was Kristen that said she uses her black marker to maybe put a design or like outline some of the different, like I don't want to outline this because I really like the way it looks, but you could use your marker to outline the different shapes that the alcohol ink has made. Or you can write a word on things. I have some flat plastic bits that I use for keychains, and I put alcohol ink on those, and you know, then I get my beautiful color. And then I write just little affirmations on them, like faith or hope or love or something like that. But you can just go ahead and use any permanent marker to write on the front or the back. And because they're permanent, what you put on there will stay. Well, it was supposed to be kind of like a dragon's eye, but I'm not real good at that. Or a cat's eye. But we'll put these things on here. I'll put them on this cardstock because then I can pick it up better. But just a very few of the things. Make sure that's closed. Okay. Just a very few of the things that you can do with your alcohol inks. And they're just fun to do. That one's really bothering me. We're going to get rid of that. But yeah, so that is how to play with your alcohol inks. And definitely 2 are better than 1. 1 used to be enough, so I think that they just went ahead and aren't putting as much ink in the pens as they used to. Let's set these aside and show you what we need for next week. Again, like I said, just keep this just like this. Just let them sit for a bit, and they'll dry out. And then you can just stack them together and store them somewhere. So for next week, we are going to need from the Dollar Tree some pom-poms, any color or design that you like, and some Fix-It-All, and our alcohol inks. We're going to use those again next week, and some of our paper clips that we already have in our stash. So this is what we're going to need for next week. So that's $2. Grab my book here. All right, so that is $2.50 for what we need. We had $72.50 in our bank, so we're saving $5. So our new balance in the bank is $77.25. So that's what we're going to need for next week. And that's what we're making for next week because it just said so right on there. So now you don't have to guess. But thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Leave a thumbs up and a comment if you can. I do have a drawing each month. In the beginning of February, I will draw for comments that were left on January's video. I will draw in February. I pick one video. Every name that left a comment on that video, their name goes in a hat, and I send out just a little something, just like hand-dyed papers, like 4 or 5 hand-dyed papers or something like that, that I can send in a regular envelope. And that's open internationally because I can send envelopes internationally, just plain letter envelopes, reasonably. So that's why I like to do that, because then I can do it for everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that each and every one of you has an outstanding day. Bye-bye.